The current edition of the fortnightly private eye, which on the evidence we call private lie, contains at page 15 in its Rotten Boroughs column an entry that it describes as about the former Tower Hamlets councillor, Wais Islam. Wais is spelled W-A-I-S, Wais Islam. So the first paragraph reads as follows. Wais, former Tower Hamlets councillor, Wais Islam, is a man of principle. He is standing as an independent against Keir Starmer in Holborn and St. Pancras on the 4th of July, supported by the Camden Gaza ceasefire campaign. He originally sat in Tower Hamlets as a councillor for George Galloway's Respect Party in 2006, before becoming a Labour councillor for 3 years. Wise says his candidacy is a protest vote. The protest vote is stated within quotation marks. He isn't the only candidate standing against Labour because of the party's stance on Gaza. But he may be the only one with a wife who is a Labour councillor. Mrs. Islam, Asma, has a seat in Tower Hamlets and sits on the Labour Party's London Regional Executive Committee, which plays a central role in selecting Labour candidates. In an interview with UK Bangladeshi television station Channel S is Channel Slaves, Wise told the presenter his wife never supported Sir Keir for leader. While Asma spoke at the Jewish Labour movement only last year, Wise has a track record of anti-Semitic remarks, once having called journalist Ted Jury, who did much to highlight the behavior of Tower Hamlets Mayor Luthuraman in his first term. Within quotes, Ted Jury, spelled Jewry, Ted Jury, ... the low-life peasant, unquote. Jury is not Jewish, but what's in a name? Says the private lie, Rotten Boroughs. Now this is typical stupidity. It doesn't mention the corruption in Tower Hamlets Council at any time, either during the first term of the so-called elected Mayor Luthuraman, or before or since. And it doesn't say what the highlights by Ted Jury were about. On the facts, on the evidence, the highlights that Ted Jury was absolutely dedicated to posting were not about corruption at all, not nepotism at all, not abuse of the council at all, but about the posts that the so-called press officer engaged at the time by the Armed Council posted or published about Ted Jury himself. I published a picture of Ted Jury or a short video of Ted Jury that I filmed. I filmed with his consent and cooperation because I filmed it as a repeat of the way that he actually was evicted from a particular meeting of the Armed Council. And Ted Jury agreed to be filmed by me, leaving the Mulberry Place in the way that he had originally done a few minutes earlier. Ted Jury was evicted at the instigation of Luthuraman's publicity person, who no longer is, of course, employed in Tar Hamlets, who went to work for Aberdeen. But Ted Jury's obsession with the publicity person in post in Tar Hamlets Council was a giveaway, because Ted Jury was trying to impress the viewer or the reader or the visitor of these posts about his, Ted Jury's, competence as compared to the employee of the Tar Hamlets Council in the propaganda efforts engaged by Luthuraman in the first term, so-called. Ted Jury didn't, absolutely did not, ever examine the evidence of corruption by Tar Hamlets Council generally, or the corrupt regime that was fronted by Luthuraman. Ted Jury, in fact, didn't report about the racism that was festering in the Labour Party itself, either before the so-called executive mayor post was created or since. When John Biggs the racist got elected in June 2015, following the banning by Richard Morey of Luthuraman based on corrupt practices, etc., Ted Jury was invited, along with the racist Mark Baines, to appear as respected guests of the so-called audit committee being chaired by the now deceased racist criminal John Pierce. And at the sitting, both Jury and Baines oozed praise at Tar Hamlets Council. Disgraceful. When I tried to film them, Ted Jury verbally protested, and his protest was echoed by the racist liar John Pierce, who sounded as if he could order me to stop doing what I was doing. I had already filmed the criminals. So this item in the Rotten Borough's column in Private Eye on page 15 of the current issue about wise Islam is completely stupid. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't say any of the wrongs the Tar Hamlets Council does, has been doing, had been doing. And it doesn't say what role, if any, anyone, any of the respect councillors, so-called, of the 2006 intake played in exposing corruption in opposing corruption. In fact, none of the then so-called respect councillors elected in 2006 were in any way active against corruption in Tower Hamlets Council. And Tower Hamlets Council's corruption is not something that private lie is unaware of, because in the last few months, private lie Rotten Boroughs has published more than one item about corruption, about bribery, and so on. So we shall be examining the corruption of Tower Hamlets Council, the corruption of the media, corruption of the likes of private lie, and the strange role played by Ted Jory in promoting himself. The word he uses about himself is that he is of a stature. By that he means to convey the impression that he is of a higher stature as a journalist than anyone else. Well, Ted Jory hasn't established any stature in opposing corruption, uncovering corruption, criminality in Tower Hamlets Council. So we shall be ending this one, which is 12 minutes, just over 12 minutes long, this video of this broadcast, at 6:31 GMT on Saturday, the 22nd of June 2024.